We recognise the strength, resilience and capacity of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people.
Australia comprises many Aboriginal and Torres Strait nations. We would like to acknowledge all of the traditional custodians of the land within Australia.
We pay respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait elders past and present.
That's it. It stinks, but that's it. It totally stinks. It's like the last thing I've got to sort out. I'm sure it's not, there'll be more. But it seems to me that it is the last big thing in my life, which comes from all of that trauma, and I've dragged it all the way through my life. And here I am, aware of it, but it's just like I'm sitting in a puddle of poo.
Welcome to our podcast. It's Janine here.
And is Kevin here?
And today we're going to talk about balanced life.
Yep. What is it?
Well, it's something to be worked for.
So,
worked at, worked with.
So what's it about though? Is it about doing things that you like some of the time or all of the time? Or doing a variety of things? Or doing as little as possible? For as much as possible?
For some people, I'm sure it is.
You know, like in the world owes me a living type thing?
I think some people, I've met some people like that. Do you know some people like that?
I was definitely like
that.
that.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
The world owes me a living.
Yeah, and my brother, I can say that safely because he doesn't talk to me. So.
He might listen to this.
He might too as well. But anyway, he won't disagree.
I just thought about this because I was thinking there's this topic, work-life balance, and I'm not sure that there ever is that. I think sometimes we can have periods where we're just fully working and throw ourselves to the grind. I don't even know if that's a saying, but anyway. Grindstone.
Nose to the grindstone.
Nose to the grindstone. Whatever. I don't do sayings. I get them all mixed up. I'm one of those people. Anyway, sometimes in your life you just work really hard and for long hours and don't get to see the people you love so much around you or spend time with those you care about as much. And then it needs to balance out where you do spend time and then you do have lots of playtime or fun time or loving time with those around you. But sometimes it just doesn't work. 9 to 5 doing this and fun or family time either side of that. I don't think it works like that. I think life can be anything you make it so long as it's balanced. So I think it's all about coming back to yourself and going, is this what I'm wanting to do in the moment?
I know when I was starting a business, I didn't have any balance at all. I'd get up in the morning, having worked till late last night, even the night before, even if it was only admin, and I'd work 14 hours, and then I'd come home, looking after Chloe if she was with me that week, and I'd probably carry on working too. So if I'd say to people about when I was running my business, which was about 10 years, we had that business, if I wasn't working, I was sleeping. There wasn't anything else. That's a real trap.
I think it is, but if you think about our lovely young people with families, I guess there's the thought of paid work, but if you think about sometimes the work we've got to do with families, the unpaid work, that's the housework or homework or work with children, all of that stuff, then I think the young families can spend their life trying to find that balance and be exhausted and spend exactly like what you mentioned, which is long hours at paid work and then looking after the family and then almost falling in bed comatose.
Exactly. That's what it was. I don't know. Anyway, for me, it wasn't productive.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you a story about how it got. I had a really lovely secretary. She really was the office manager. You know, And she was really, really good at what she did. I remember arriving to work one Monday morning, and she was always cheerful and said hello, and she just looked at me and pointed into my office and said, "On your desk." And I was like, "What?" So I walked into my office, and on my desk was a ticket to Badara Island in the far north of Queensland, and a note underneath it saying, "You're like a bear with a sore head. If you don't take a couple of weeks holiday, I think you're going to be minus quite a few staff."
Oh.
So, and I did. But she couldn't stop me from working even when I was there. So, yeah. But the point is that it had this horrible effect on people around me, which I wasn't aware of until she told me that.
I think there's some really important things that we can draw from that story. I definitely think that there can be times like that times of really doing lots of work, but it sounds like you weren't listening to yourself at all.
No. I was gone. And I didn't enjoy it. I was driving around in a beaten up old Ford sedan, a wagon rather, and daggy old clothes. And on paper, I was extremely well off. More than on paper, I didn't pay myself.
Yeah, okay.
My secretary used to pay me, the same secretary. And every time I walked out the office, she used to say to me, "Have you got your wallet?" And I'd say, "Yeah." She said, "Have you got any money in it?" I'd say, "Well, probably not, no." And she'd give me some petty cash.
Oh.
It was a crazy way to live.
Well, it sounds like you didn't care for you.
That's right.
And maybe there was the parallel of not caring for those around you as well.
Well, it's going to happen, isn't it? If I'm not looking after me, then I'm probably not looking after others as well.
Yeah. I mean, not that you mean to not care for others in that state, but if you're not looking after yourself, you're not going to see, perhaps you're not listening to yourself and you're not listening to your body and the impact on others. So that in itself is not caring for others as well.
Yep. The only thing I was looking at was building the business and how I could tell you, I couldn't tell you how much money I had, but I could tell you to the last cent how much money the company had. And I was just looking to making it more successful, and I thought that was the thing to do. I don't any longer think I wouldn't do that again.
Kevin, I know your circumstances are very different now.
Broke.
Yep, that's very different.
Yeah. But I'm okay with it.
Do you feel more content?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel more alive, more me, and I know that it'll pass. And me being broke is not about what I've discovered. This happens to me and my brother again and again. We've both been extremely rich. My brother owned apartments in Park Lane in London and rented them out, and then somehow managed to be broke again. We both did it. And it's got to do with messages from our family. So it's not about having the money. When I had the money, I didn't use it. When I haven't got the money, I used to whinge and complain because poor old me, I'm broke. I've still been doing some of that, but I've come to realise that it was time to actually acknowledge that it was something different going on. And so I'm aware of it. I'm not sure what to do about it.
Yeah.
But I've taken us off track a bit.
Well, no, I think it's a lovely conversation around life. I'm not sure where I was going to go with this, but I think it's really important just to do that really important listening to yourself, and that includes what's happening for you now in the moment and what's happening in life. Are you rushing around trying to do everything or working too hard, or are you choosing to work too hard for a time and then stopping and then coming back to family? You can't do both, and you can't have it all.
No. So what you're saying is you have to plan to have a balance in life, as opposed to I want to make this much money and then I'll come and have a rest or balance, or look at the rest of my life, or be in the rest of my life.
Well, I think it'd be silly to spend all your time working really hard for a life to have at the end of life.
Well, yeah, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Some people don't have the privilege of making it to the end of their life.
Oh.
Or do they wait for life to begin there and then get sick? And I don't want to do that. I want to live life well, or work life well, or family well, or whatever that is. And I would love that to happen for those around us and those of our listeners, wherever stage you're at.
Yeah, well, I don't think it works to just like, oh, I'm going to work really hard and then everything will be okay. I don't know that it's about work at all.
No, I guess that's why I called it balanced life.
Yeah.
Because it's how we are in life. For me, I've just spent 4 days minding the grandkiddies, and I've come home and I'm exhausted. I know when I'm exhausted, so I'm certainly feeling for you younger people out there with your young families. And I'm sure you can relate to that exhaustion and that inability to be able to have a full adult conversation, or to go to the bathroom and be on your own, or spend some peaceful time in the bathroom. That doesn't happen. And I guess I wanted to say that I noticed that because I'm so exhausted, I feel quite vulnerable. And I haven't felt like this in this way for quite a while, and it takes me back to those tender years that are hard work. And I know I feel quite excited for the time that I had with my grandkiddies.
Yeah.
As their parents went away and spent some time together, which was really important time that they don't ever have. So I'm really grateful for what I did. But now that I'm here back again, I'm really tired and I'm vulnerable, and I've got to come back to a balanced life for me, which is looking after me and caring for me, because I just feel teary. I mean, you've seen that this morning.
Yeah.
I was teary last night when I came home, and I think that that's just feeling for me. Feeling that I'm tired and life was a bit of hard work.
Yeah.
Didn't hurt me, but what am I saying? It's time to slow now.
Yeah. Is that a bit about getting older, like we've done that?
Yeah,
We've
no, it's
already-
not.
Yes.
I think for me, it's about balanced life.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And you can't always do that if you're in a project, or you're working with young families, or you're in young families.
Yeah, look, I don't want to do it again. I love being with my grandchildren. I don't know that I'd look after them. I suppose I would if I was asked to. But I wouldn't be as keen to spend 4 days with them as I would to spend a few hours or a day with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing for me about being a grandparent is that I have all of the pleasure and very little of the responsibility.
Well, I think that's the case for most people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, back on track with balance or not balance. I really thought when I was running a company, and before that and after that working, on my own, but working that sort of all the time until I was sleeping or working, and doing the bare minimum of anything else, including looking after me. I really thought that was the thing that I was supposed to do. And I realised, listening and just talking to you just now, that actually even when I knew that I had everything that I needed, I had enough of this paper stuff that we use to buy things with, to do whatever I wanted to do, I just pushed it aside and carried on working. So it was like a drug.
Oh.
Yeah, I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
I don't know if I couldn't stop. I didn't stop.
Yeah.
It was what I did. I didn't even complain about it, really. I just did it.
I think we can get addicted to many things, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I can get addicted to everything.
Well, I think if we think about addictions widely, you can get addicted to many things.
Yeah. Everybody can.
Yeah, you can get addicted to anger or relationships,
Yeah.
even if they're not good for you. And
You can get attracted to relationships that are not good to you.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is, all of these things have something in common about being out of balance.
I think so.
Yeah, me working and not doing anything else, and being around other people that are doing the same thing, being attracted to the same relationships that again and again I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but anyway, that are not good for me.
As we're talking about this, I remembered when I worked for the men's behaviour change programs, I was a facilitator.
I met somebody who was in one of those programs.
Did you?
I asked him lots and lots of questions.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, they only had good things to say about it.
So,
Sorry.
if people out there don't know what the men's behaviour change programs are, they're programs specifically for men that have used violence within their lives, usually towards their partner or their family in some way. And that can include emotional, physical, social, any type of violence or control over the family. And so I was a facilitator in those groups for many years. And there was one particular agency that I was working at for a time, and I was working night times, getting paid back then, and it was only maybe 10 years ago, it was like something like $30 an hour.
Wow.
And not getting paid for meals and mealtimes, but working from lunchtime on, roughly lunchtime on or late afternoon until through to the night. And I'd be the only woman in a men's group getting paid poorly and often criticised because I was the only woman in a men's group. And then criticised, not paid shift work, and working my butt off and feeling like I'm not sure that I'm a good representative for the women out there. And also in relationships that were similar to what I was used to, being criticised, or there was a comfort for me in those groups that I was familiar with. And I thought, I started to notice that it was time for me to stop. I've burnt out a couple of times in my career where I've needed to stop and change work because I was absolutely exhausted and fatigued and needed to do something very different, which I've done a couple of times. But at this particular occasion, I'd noticed I was starting to lose my energy, lose my enthusiasm for the work. And I love those groups. I think they were really helpful for the men. I hope that I was helpful to them and supportive. And it meant that they learnt to be safer for themselves and specifically and importantly safer for their families that they would go back to and the partners that they had, and definitely their children as well. So all of that was really significant and wonderful work, but there were parts of it that I needed to change for me, for my life, because I was not going to be helpful in this space anymore and I didn't want to burn out.
So it's different. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's out of balance.
Yeah. It doesn't matter for what reason.
No.
I think I'm still that caring person, but my care is for me and hopefully models it for those people I'm around. But also I'm doing other different types of work or working in a way that is still my passion, and it's feeding me, it's giving me energy.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I got lost. That's where I went.
I don't know where I went. I just got lost.
Was there something in my story?
Well, there must have been. I guess I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What I know is that I'm pissed off carrying around whatever it is in my family of origin, my parents or the next door neighbour gave me, so that I can't have some of the life that we've been talking about. That I can't, but that I haven't. Because I have no idea how to have it. So, yeah, what triggered me in your story, I just realised, is when you talked about how all of that, being surrounded by stuff that was so familiar and comforting, that's it. It stinks, but that's it. It totally stinks. It's like the last thing I've got to sort out. I'm sure it's not, there'll be more. But it seems to me that it is the last big thing in my life, which comes from all of that trauma, and I've dragged it all the way through my life, and here I am, aware of it, but it's just like I'm sitting in a puddle of poo.
Oh my goodness.
And
That
I don't
doesn't
know
sound
how
fun.
to fix it.
What did you hear in my story
I just
that was
told
all
you.
comforting?
No, you said those words.
About what?
You said being surrounded by the men criticising you and all of those things that you talked about, and it was familiar and it was comforting. And I went, fuck that. Yell certainly got up and said, yeah, no. And yeah, it was a trigger, which we talked about. Anyway, yeah, it really is. And I want it to be gone, and I don't know how for it to be gone.
Kevin.
When I get like this, I want to dig my parents up and kill them again.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, I hear that.
Yeah,
Yep, there was a lot of energy there, wasn't there?
there was.
Kevin, I can, in this life, where I am now, and I'm not working that job,
Yeah.
and it's not familiar to me, and I feel very appreciated, I still can feel that pang. Is
Yeah, I
that
know.
right?
I felt it when you were talking about it. And
but
I connected
but
to
it's
it.
still there at times for me. And
I see what you mean.
And I feel
Yeah.
like I have everything. I have a loving relationship, and I've got an amazing dog
No,
who's sitting there. What's your
that's
problem?
not okay.
What's
it has
not
to
okay?
be gone.
What has to be gone?
The horrible feelings.
No, I'm afraid sometimes it's not gone so much as it needs to be moved through.
Well, that would be okay too. I clearly haven't done that with this particular set of trauma either.
I think that's what I was feeling. I've spent some days with my grandchildren, which has been fabulous and exhausting. So really feeling for the young families out there. But I've been fortunate because I can come back to my home where it's just me, my husband and the dog, and Bianca. She lives here too on occasions. And other people who sometimes frequent our home, which I love. Anyway, point being is that I'm here and I'm quite exhausted, and it brings up for me feelings, the old feelings of whether it's criticised or trapped or unappreciated or used or from my family of origin myself. And I know when I'm overtired I get really vulnerable. I feel vulnerable. I feel very teary. And as we've been talking with it, and I was teary earlier on, is just that I'm able to identify that that's grief, and I just need to breathe and move through it. Just notice it and be teary. And you can't fix it, Kevin.
That's just what I was sitting there thinking, yeah, that's good, but what's the answer? And then I said, the answer is work really hard and get lots of money. And I immediately went, no, I've done that. That's part of the trauma.
But I love you've just talked about the different parts of yourself, just in that conversation that you had. You've just had that part of you that fires up, and then you've gone, no. And then there's that gentle adult or parenting, nurturing part of self that's gone, no, that's not how we do it.
And, so I'm not working at the moment. I'm doing lots of other things I like to do. And I get lots of time for me. And I can get up and take my time going for a run in the mornings. I don't have to rush around.
You know, I have that. I have time for me, and I do wonderful things with it. Play with Asha, do my pole dancing, and there's a wonderful community there, and we're doing our writing, we're doing a few other different things, and things that I'm wanting to do and I love. And I can still catch myself at times feeling some old stuff. And I just have to work with the parts of myself. I can feel quite anxious about the wonderful... No, that's the thing I was going to say. I can feel quite anxious about all the lovely things that I'm doing and feel like I shouldn't, or I'm indulging, or I'm wasteful, and sometimes that's really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm getting used to doing something very differently and not pushing or bullying myself. But sometimes I get very anxious.
Yep. So I'm feeling like we haven't given the people who are listening to us a balanced life. Sorry, folks. Maybe there isn't one. Or maybe it's working at it all the time, which is what you said much earlier.
I
Just
think
sort of,
maybe.
being
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
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 In the
And it
moment.
might be with the tears,
Yeah. Okay.
with the anxiety, with
Yeah.
the joy sometimes.
Sometimes all of those things.
Yeah, it's a bit of everything.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember when I was particularly brave one time that I'd asked our eldest daughter Rhiannon, "How do you see me?" And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, if I was a metaphor, or you
Okay. described
me as a metaphor, what would it be?" And she went, yeah, I got it. And she said, "You're a sponge and you just soak up all the stress, and when there's too much stress, it just oozes all out of you and over us." And I went, "Oh,
Wow.
okay,
Really?
thank you." Anyway, I thought, well, what will I do with that? I thanked her. I thought that was great. That's what I wanted. And when I say brave, if you're going to ask a child at that stage, I think she was 19, and living at home with us at that stage, and I really wanted to know, and I wanted to hear what she had to say. So I had to be willing to listen to her, and she was really important
Did
to
you
me.
say any more?
I just went, "Okay, thanks for that." And I thought, oh, she'd better do something. And so then I realised that that's the example, that was the model that I was giving our children when I have
Okay.
3 children. So I thought, oh, okay, better do some different things. And it was really important to me, being a woman, that I would model how to be that gender in the home. And that would be around shared responsibilities, or if it was work, around how I would work, how I would be inclusive, how I would be the person who doesn't overwork, how I would not be the partner who does everything or does all the housework or carry all the emotional load, all of those things. And so I started to change some things. And I remember some months later, I went back to Rhiannon and I went, "Rhiannon, how do you think you see me now? Is it any different?" And she said, "What do you mean?" And I went, "You know, that metaphor, the sponge." And she went, oh, yeah. Oh, let me think. Yeah, it is. Now, if there's any stress, you're a sponge and you just soak it all up, and I don't know. We don't know if there's any. And I went, good. That's better.
Is it?
Yeah.
I
Because-
suppose, yeah. But hang on. Wait.
What?
That's only her opinion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that's not necessarily how you were.
Why not?
Well, it's not.
Well, it's her view of me.
Yeah.
And maybe at that 19-year-old didn't have the insight of what it was to be a parent at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm really comfortable with that.
Okay.
But there's parts of her journey that I was wanting and willing to listen to that could inform mine. And I really liked that because I thought that I need to listen to my child.
It's quite a brave thing to do to ask her.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about asking Chloe, and I immediately thought, no, absolutely not. If she tells me and I haven't asked, that's something, but yeah, it's one thing, but I'm not going to ask.
And sometimes, I guess, from every child and different circumstances, you're going to get something different.
Absolutely.
There was just a time in my life it felt right and appropriate, and I was going to use the insight from Rhiannon just to inform how I was going to be. Yeah.
Good story.
I thought it helped me to start to think about seeing myself from somebody else's view. Whether you ask a friend or ask a family member, you could ask a partner. I think those things are really worthy to do, to really get that balance and see yourself from somebody else's view.
I could do that. I'd go and find someone I knew that they were going to give the most favourable answer, and then I'd ask them.
That's not the point.
It could be.
I'm sure you could do that. Then you'd go away skipping, but is that the point?
No, I guess not. No. So don't ask.
That's another option. Yep. You don't have to, people. It's just an idea. It's just something that you could do. You could do it.
Yeah, you could do it, okay.
Or not.
Everybody should do it and then tell me what happened, and I won't have to.
Oh. I love your creativity.
It's got all kinds of uses.
Yeah.
Right. You think we're done?
Do we have to be done? What's this thing about done?
What's wrong with it?
Nothing. It was just odd.
Why? Because I could say it a different way. Do you think we're finished? Or I could say, okay, I've had enough, I'm off.
Yeah. And all of those would be acceptable.
But no, they weren't.
Well, the done.
They're done.
I don't know.
Done and dusted.
Good thing we know each other well.
Well, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't.
No.
No. All right, well, I need to go and find a balanced life.
Yeah, I'm after one as well. Do you want a cup of tea or something?
A cup of tea
Let's
would be
do that.
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, go have a cup of tea for yourselves.
Or not.
What is it? White and one? White and none? Or
White and two still.
white and two?
Soon to be white and one.
Have a great week or two, people, and we'll catch you again soon.
Yeah.
Look after yourselves.
Yeah. And what am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
You tell me not to just say, see ya. And
Yeah,
things
I
like
tell
that.
you.
Yeah.
And you listen to me?
Well, clearly I did this time. Okay, thank you so much for listening to us and paying attention and sending us lots of lovely comments. See you next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.